So a lot of people who are out there who don't understand that, you know, we're not in entropy anymore as a species. Um, in higher consciousness, if you leave everything alone, it doesn't degenerate unless you believe it degenerates. If you leave it alone, it can regenerate. So when you leave people alone and they have the old mentality, they'll get a pain or something and they'll think they're getting a disease or dying. But if they understand that we're in higher consciousness and we're regenerating, they'll get a pain and they'll realize that something's waking up or something from the past or old consciousness is releasing. So it's all in your vantage point. People have a choice right now whether they stay in lower consciousness with those old habits and belief systems, or if they change their vantage point and agree to higher consciousness for how they deal with everyday little sprains and hurts. I fell down the stairs yesterday. I loved it. I loved it because I was releasing so much old static issues for humanity. So I felt all the aches and pains and brokes and whatever. I just sat there and released it, and I felt better than ever. And that's the kind of mentality you need for higher consciousness. Everything that comes at you is an improvement.
So the pretty cool thing is that through this process and pretty much all the processes that we go through, we have basically rewritten the universal law of entropy, or at least the second law of thermodynamics, which basically says that things naturally go into a state of disorder, but we're actually reversing that. And isn't that pretty cool in a lot of ways? So if you think about it in sort of more mainstream physics, right? So I studied engineering. I wouldn't consider myself to be a physicist in any sense, but in mainstream physics, time goes forward linearly, and we can think about the Big Bang and the aging of the universe and all of that kind of stuff. But and as that happens, disorder kind of tends to follow. So, but isn't it pretty cool just to think about, reversing that process? And that's a pretty powerful thing to do.
So what's interesting that you bring that up, babies, is are there more of these physics laws that you know of besides entropy and
I couldn't
thermodynamics?
I couldn't pull them up right now. I'm sure there are, but you've got,
But
a dozen or so spiritual laws.
right. So what I'm saying about those physics laws, we can actually do a tap-in session to go through and shift the curse that they are, that ingrained belief system that yeah, time just goes forward. We can actually consciously address those physics laws if you find it
All right.
helpful.
I'll have to do some research, and a lot of those books behind me are my old engineering and physics books, so I'll have to dig through them and see if I can um, succinctly see if we can summarize some of those basic laws of. But see, but you're absolutely right. These are the basic laws of physics as we have agreed to them, but it doesn't mean that they have to be that way. So there's an idea, Neil, what's his name? Well, you
Degrassi
love him.
Tyson, my hero.
So, right, so the physicists out there, they're going to hate this, right? Because, for them, these are, primal universal laws that, just exist as truth. And what's really cool is through our intention, our imagination, our creativity, and the effort that we put in energy, we can just unwind all of that. Because at the end of the day, we, as a human species and a collective, we share some common experiences only through the process of agreeing to some of these laws of physics like time, space, gravity. These only exist because we agreed to them as part of the human experience, but we don't have to.
Right, even as simple as solid matter. What is solid? What's an idea? What's a thought? What's a feeling? I think it would be really interesting when you and I can talk with Neil deGrasse Tyson and David Sinclair and just, you know, add this it factor to it, because they're all based on science, and they both know there's something else to it. And if they understood the SFT tapping and how they can tap into the psyche to manifest their understandings quicker in the human psyche, that would be amazing.
So, Mr. Neil, Mr. Physicist, call us. We've got some new
Let's do
information for you.
We'll do lunch.
Let's do lunch.
I just want to thank you for doing all that research, and I felt the tingling as well throughout and around tap 50. My cells were like, I could started communicating with them and they were very happy. But this was very intense. Like I found myself really, it's one I'm going to have to re-listen to because
Yes,
I'm not even really here right now. I mean, and I couldn't grab the words. So, yeah.
So what's interesting is, for one thing, I'm usually not ever here. Me and Marvin joke about, Jen, what percentage of you is here? And it's like, sometimes I'm down to 2%. But there's that. The other thing is, did you feel the spaciousness happening inside? Like you went from being a condensed, linear conglomerate to like, wait a minute, there's space here. And when you get to that point where you can feel the macrocosm, you can feel all of outer space in your inner space. That's a profound moment. So that's something you might want to contemplate. What if the sun, earth, moon, and this galaxy was operating inside your dantian, or inside your solar plexus?
And what you're talking about too with the laws, I mean, and inanimates and how, it's kind of mind blowing. Anyway, I don't even know where to go with that, but there's a lot
yeah.
here.
So if you're going to blow out your mind, make sure that you have your heart there to catch you.
Yeah.
So you blow out the mind and you operate from the heart.
So, but that's the funny thing, this whole metaphysics and spirituality thing. So on the one hand, a lot of people are really focused on having these, really whacked out metaphysical experiences, and some participate in some mind altering substances to assist in that process. And that's all good and great. And I've read my fair share of, books written by gurus, sages, and various other things where they really describe these most profound metaphysical experiences. And you kind of think about that and go, wow, that's pretty weird and funky. But here's the thing. If you're going to maintain corporeal form, you don't want to lose yourself in that experience, so that, you're only really here 1% of the time and you're having this kind of experience, if that means to you. The movie Lucy, I think that's what it's called, where she, her mind became sort of 100% activated, and she really was just an integrated part of every fabric of the universe. But one of the things that really trips me out is thinking about the idea of the universe being centered and contained and happening all within one atom. And so, Jen, when you just said, imagine if the sun, the earth, the moon, and all of this galaxy, and you were just talking about this galaxy, operated within your dantian, that's kind of a little bit like that. But what I was going to say is that, as much as it's really funky and fun to have those kind of thoughts and metaphysical experiences, you don't want to lose yourself, and, just because you still need to sort of function and operate in the physical realm. So I think that really is the razor's edge as to how you really do that.
Well, here's the thing. That's why the SFT tapping is so important, because people can release these things that we research for them. And so far, knock on wood, I haven't gone insane or whatever. I've kept my insanity. And I think the key to
Sorry,
it for
you've
me,
kept your sanity, I hope you're trying to say.
I kept my sanity for the most part. And the thing that keeps me sane, for one thing, is you grounding me. And unlike that movie Lucy, where her mind got melded with everything, that's not what it's about. In higher consciousness, it's the heart melding with everything. And you've watched that experience with me. You watch how I cry at the drop of a hat in compassion for these stupid things on TV. So it's like, to have access to all that love all at once, that's more expansive than any thought. You can like blow out your mind by trying to think like it, but to expand your heart and to trust that it's safe is the upgrade.
Mm.